Good evening, class. This is Assistant Professor Bonnie Dwyer, acting professor, standing in tonight, just to give a brief 10-minute overview of defamation. And it's going to be a real, you know, uh, targeted overview. We won't be able to cover everything, but we'll talk about something specific that's going on in defamation law right now, which is the Project Veritas litigation. So we'll just get started. What is defamation? As we know, at common law, the elements of defamation were the defendant published defamatory material of and concerning the plaintiff, which caused damages. And as we know, published is a legal term of art, which means communicated in any way, oral or written. So that's a particular defamation use of the word published. Also, of and concerning doesn't need to name the plaintiff by name. It just needs to be recognizable. And the defamatory material obviously needs to be false. Truth is an absolute defense to defamation. And the damages portion of it, we're not going to get really a chance to talk about any of that this evening, unfortunately, but Professor Olson has a wonderful 100-slide PowerPoint that I tried to incorporate little bits and pieces of here, but you can always go and look at that on Twen at your leisure so that you can brush up on defamation before the final torts exam, before the level 1 assessment, and of course, in the future, before the bar exam. So in addition, the Supreme Court of the United States has superimposed various First Amendment requirements upon the common law defamation rules. So one of these superimpositions is stemming from the New York Times versus Sullivan case from the 1960s, and that came about, which said a public official cannot recover damages for defamation related to official conduct unless the public official proves that the statement was actually false and that it was made with actual malice. And that is knowledge of falsity or reckless disregard as to its truth or falsity. Another couple of distinctions that there are in defamation law these days are public officials versus public figures versus limited public figures, and how those all differ from private individuals. And again, the damages are functions of all these different variables in defamation law. But as I mentioned, we're going to be talking specifically this evening about an organization called Project Veritas, which has been in the news pretty much every day over the last few months, even over the last 6 months, but especially over the last month, regarding several ongoing defamation suits that they have against various news organizations. So they've been around since at least 2009 doing these, what they call sting operations. They tend to be referred to as right-wing. They tend to, sometimes people refer to them as deceptive and all kinds of things, but this is a lot of what the litigation is stemming from. So the way they really kind of came into my life directly was this top right corner where it says the NPR Muslim Brotherhood interview. And that was back in 2011 when I was still working for an NPR station. And that video that they did had such a huge ripple effect that it really shifted my goals for my career. And within a couple of months after that video came out, I had left NPR and was starting to work in law firms. And of course, it took me 10 years to get to law school, but now here I am, a professor. So yeah, so we will just keep moving on with this. We don't have time to watch many of these videos, unfortunately, but they have these different music videos out and all these videos about their current litigation, and then the person who is their founder and actually we'll do this first on Westlaw. When you search for Project Veritas, you're going to see up to 76 cases. They also are very prolific in terms of writing amicus briefs and such for other cases. Their cases are also often referred to. They have a lot of First Amendment cases in addition to these defamation cases. They had a really significant First Amendment case in Boston a couple years ago. So they're highly litigious, first of all, but they are seem to be winning a lot of these battles that they're coming up against. And so we will continue on. Here we have just pictures of the founder, James O'Keefe. He is about 37 years old. He was early mid-20s when he first started all this undercover work that he does. Over here is a a mugshot of him when he got arrested for breaking into the former Senator Mary Landrieu's office down in New Orleans. And again, that was when I was living in New Orleans. So, you know, it seems like this entity has been sort of following me, not literally, but at least I don't think literally. They're undercover, so you never know. But I just, as I said, they're very controversial as an organization, but I consider James O'Keefe like sort of that rascally little brother. You know, I consider him part Ferris Bueller and part Borat. And it's ironic because I saw in my research for this lecture, I saw that Sacha Baron Cohen has some people that are looking to sue him for very similar reasons that people look to sue Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. So it's just quite interesting that something that's pure comedy can be, you know, so alike in the legal realm to something that is allegedly what they intend to be, you know, true muckraking journalism in the old tradition of undercover stuff. So yeah, just some more quotes about him. He's a politically conservative American activist. He calls himself a citizen journalist. And in 2010 is when he formed this organization called Project Veritas. So they won this case. They were the defendants in this case, but it was thrown out because this plaintiff Wentz was unable to sufficiently identify a false statement published by defendants that plausibly supports his defamation claims. So they are really succeeding in these claims against themselves. And then now they are becoming very frequent plaintiffs in some suits against some very big name organizations. So most recently, just about 2 weeks ago, they filed a lawsuit against CNN because CNN made a comment on James O'Keefe's ban from Twitter. So Project Veritas had already been banned from Twitter, and then James O'Keefe was recently banned. So there's this ongoing litigation with CNN, which is based down in the Atlanta U.S. District Court. But then they have two other cases out of New York State Court, Westchester County. So this one is the one that was filed around mid-April, just after April 15th, so just a couple weeks ago, and they filed this in New York State, and this is O'Keefe himself as an individual, his defamation action arising from Twitter's, as he claims, false and defamatory April 15th, 2021 statement concerning Twitter's decision to ban himself, James O'Keefe, an investigative journalist who had been followed by over 926,000 Twitter users as of the time he was banned. And then another recent development in their lawsuit against the New York Times, which was filed back in October, is that New York Times's motion to dismiss was denied. And so they are proceeding to discovery in this action, which is also out of that New York Supreme Court out of Westchester County. And so, you know, just going to play a moment or two of this little video so you can kind of see them. Oh, actually, so they are, just last week, they announced that they've started their own legal firm, basically within their umbrella of their nonprofit organization. And it's called Project Veritas Legal, and they're looking for clients. They're saying, have you been defamed? And then they're also recruiting for a director of litigation and an associate counsel. And so they are definitely, you know, raising their profile, and they seem confident in these lawsuits. So it'll be interesting to watch this over the next while. And here's a little bit of their video.
Those things out loud, but it's obvious.
Spoof of a
no one ever says
Prince.
those things out loud, but it's obvious.
Here's some bleeds.
If it bleeds, it bleeds. I think that's propaganda.
Twitter permanently suspended his account after he exposed hypocrisy and fraud at CNN.
Project Veritas, a very controversial conservative group,
promoting
The
misinformation.
Times reported that the footage from Project Veritas was part of the
according to Stanford researchers,
So-
coordinated disinformation.
coordinated
Maybe you see that
sued the New York Times
Ferris
for
Bueller
defamation.
/ Borat reference I made
Just
earlier.
won a major victory in that case.
Come to you and offer you $100 million. You're not going to settle?
So tell them to go to hell.
So yeah, it sounds like he's not really in it for the money. It's really a matter of principle at this point. And I'm not saying that I'm on his side or against him, but I definitely think that they're serious about this. They're pretty well funded, and they're gonna pursue these lawsuits, these defamation lawsuits. So we'll just finish up the last few seconds with these words of encouragement, which aren't really words of encouragement. Thanks, guys. Great.